Welcome, everybody. My name is Paul Abrams, and I'm part of what I'm going to be doing is going through some of the acronyms you're going to hear through the evening. You've got notebooks in front of you. Please take notes, because otherwise you're going to be completely lost. Okay. I'm the Learning Process Facilitator, also known as the LPF, sometimes known as Paul. And my role with this group in the last year has been to accompany them on a leadership development journey, a journey of building relationships and making things happen better in the world. So it is fantastic for me to stand up here at the end of this year and to be able to celebrate with the rest of the circle. And just want to thank everybody for coming. There have been a lot of people who have endured those of us on the circle for the last year, partners, friends, colleagues, who've had to put up with us coming home going, you know about this and that. Yeah. So thank you, and thank you all for your support and for supporting us here tonight. Before we get on to what tonight is about, the celebration, I'm going to ask Selwyn, who is the regional manager for Partners for Possibility, to come and give you just a short overview of what Partners for Possibility and Symphonia South Africa is about, so that you can see where this program fits in. Selwyn?
What is Partners for Possibility and where does it fit into Symphonia for South Africa? And it's an important question. So Symphonia for South Africa is what you would call the brother or the big body, all right? Partners for Possibility is one of the programs that form part of Symphonia for South Africa. We do have another program called School Leadership Forum, but the main focus for the Partners for Possibility program is a nation-building program. We want to see South Africa changed. And the way we do that is by partnering business leaders with principals in a year-long leadership journey. And over that year, one of the main or two of the main outcomes that we see in this program is that, firstly, that principals would move from being, overwhelmed, but become ready to lead change in their schools. We know that our schools are places that need lots of support. And the second part of that is, as the program goes along, we provide support in that process. So the two key things is that principals would be ready to lead change, but with support throughout that year. Now, South Africa is a place of 25,000 government schools. Can you believe it? And this afternoon I heard a stat, and I looked at the stats actually yesterday. We received a note of all the schools in Cape Town, in South Africa. And South Africa has so many schools, but we've only touched, in the past 7 years, 725, or I think 27, out of 27, or 25 schools over the past 7 years. That means that there are many more schools that we can go to work with. And we're so excited about the work that we're doing because of the partnerships we have. And later on we'll tell you about those partnerships with government, with business, but also with private sector that have come on board to support this program. And over the past 7 years, 727 schools. Soon we'll have a big celebration to actually say thank you to all our partners. And that celebration will take place in May. And we would love many of you to come along and just to celebrate with us. So this evening, I'm not going to talk a lot. I'm going to stop now and hand back to Paul. Thank you.
So an overview of the year for those of you who are not familiar. 1 year program, and we have between about 7 and 10 partnerships in a circle. That means so they're between 18 and 20, 16 and 20 people in a circle with a business partner partnered with a school principal. And there's a whole matching process that goes into that. Not going to go there now. All right. This is a leadership development program. It's not an Ach Shem Poor Schools program. It's a leadership development program. And it's a leadership development program for both the business partner and the school principal. Because it's about learning about leadership, and the focus on leadership in this program is through partnerships, through building partnerships, building relationships, and ultimately building community. And the skills that are learnt over the year can be applied in the workplace, whether it's a school or a corporate. And I think for most of us, we really feel a major impact in our homes. So yeah, people come and say, but my wife said I've never listened to her before. What's going on here? Okay. Just so that you know, there in your gifts pile in front of you, there's a roll of paper that's been rolled up and it's tied in a gold ribbon. That's the program for the evening, so just in case you get lost. Okay. Times have been changed to protect innocent people. All right. So we start on this one-year program, and there are various components to this one-year program. There's clearly the heart of the program is the partnership between the business partner and the school principal, and they meet over the year a couple of times a month, sometimes more, sometimes less, on this ongoing basis. And they then look at their development plan, they're going to look at projects they're going to work on, they develop their relationship, and they start working towards implementing change or change processes in the school very often, and you'll hear this emerging this evening, really getting people to talk to each other, creating community within the school, having principals talking more to the staff, people talking more and listening more to the learners, to the parents. And so a lot of it is focused on relational work. If you build strong relationships, you can launch into major action and change. As part of that process, there are 3 workshops that we attend. The first one is Time to Think, and that's the first time that the whole group, and it's done just for that group, where we get together as a group and we have an external facilitator really helping us to listen, to be thinking partners, so that we can listen to each other. And you're going to practice 1 or 2 of the methodologies this evening. This is an audience participation program. Just in case you were wondering, and you go, sit back, I just have to eat the food and look pretty. So you're going to hear this evening some of the terminology that's come out of Time to Think. You're going to hear about rounds. And a round is, because very often we sit in circles, and each person has a chance to talk. And the basic rule of a round is very simple. You don't interrupt the person that's talking. You look at them while they're talking, and you listen to them. And then when it's your chance to talk, you talk, and you don't interrupt. So it's about listening to the voices. And we're going to practice that a little bit later, so I just thought I'd introduce that now. So that's the Time to Think. The next program we all go on together is called Flawless Consulting. And so I just want to I'm explaining a little bit to you because people are going to talk about these things. And then we went to Flawless Consulting, so you need to know just a little bit about it. Flawless Consulting is the work of Peter Block. And the Flawless Consulting premise is, how do you influence without necessarily having authority? And I think that for most of our lives, whether we parents, children, people working, people in, whatever, is that very often we've got to try and get people to buy in, to convince them. And that really is what Flawless Consulting is about. And you might hear the word contracting. It just means we talk about what is expected of each other. Okay, I'm not seeing people making many notes here. Who brought the exam books? All right. Then the third training component that we go to, and that's towards the end of the program, is called community building. Because one of the kind of subheadings of the Partners for Possibility is the school as the center of community. And the community is about the people inside the school, plus the parents, plus the department, plus the people who live in the community around the school and who may not have children at that school. And so how do you create community with your broader community to strengthen both the community and the school? A very powerful workshop, and I think it was particularly powerful for this circle. The responses that and the feedback has been very, very powerful. So that whole idea of how do we work together? How do we create something of excellence together? Rather than somebody going, you will do it like that, because we know it doesn't work, yet we still do it. So part of this program is learning how to build relationships and how to build community so that we can do things together so that there is buy-in. So that's the third component. The flawless, and there's another term that comes out of the, which you're going to hear a lot this evening, that comes out of community building, and that is gifts. Right? So I'm explaining to you because we're going to be talking about, and gifts aren't necessarily those things that are wrapped pretty, here's a gift. Because we talk, when we go into communities, very often communities are going, but we don't have resources, we don't have this, we don't have, because we live in a country that is so unequal, that has such high levels of poverty. And when we talk about gifts in this context is, what are the things that happen in the community that can, that either individuals or groups do that add value, that can give us pride, that can give us hope and can give us help. So when we talk about gifts, so we had a singer here. She brought us a gift. All right? We're going to have a poet a little bit later. She's going to bring us a gift. The people who planned it brought the gift of planning. And in schools we have the learners have gifts. They're able to draw and sing or run or whatever. So it's any attribute that you have that can add value, that you can give to the community, which can bring some form of joy, but not necessarily, but some form of help and assistance to a community. So when doing community building work, we like to bring the gifts of the community into the room. So you don't go and buy a caterer. You get somebody local to come and do your catering. You put pictures up of the community. There might be somebody who makes metalwork stuff or wirework stuff. Those are all gifts. And all of those things show that there is a richness in the community. It's not just poverty. And so one of our focuses tonight is on the gifts that we bring and the gifts that we've received from each other in this program. And then every 6 weeks we meet as a community of practice. So all of the partnerships come together and we meet at one of the schools and we rotate to talk about stuff, to talk about what's happening in our lives, to talk about what's happening at the school, in the business, and to share the learning, to share experiences, because it's not about there's some clever person who has all the answers. There's a huge amount of wisdom in the circle, and we can all learn from each other. And I think the community of practice, otherwise known as COP, so you'll hear the word COP probably a few times, it's got nothing to do with police, okay? It's the community of practice. You'll hear people mention the community of practice and what they've learned and gained from that process. So that's our program in a nutshell. In that time, people are doing reflections, they have plans, they're implementing plans. The business partners have some coaching and conversations to support them. So it's quite a broad and varied program. And really, the bottom line is it's about building relationships and effectiveness through relationships and building bridges between business and schools, building bridges within communities. And so our theme this evening is the gifts that we bring to build bridges. And that is our theme. So I'm now done, and I'm going to hand over to Nicola.